After the problems of the last podcast, we managed to resolve the audio, only for it to go wrong again just seconds before this one. We also had issues with our bandwidth. However, we hope this does not spoil your enjoyment of tonight's podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Green Grassroots of Football with me, Andy Glover.
Me, Mark Grinter.
And tonight we are talking about youth football tournaments. Are there too many? Are there not enough? Who knows? There's long summer weekends, multiple matches in a day, medals, trophies, often a lot of sunburn and ice cream. But are tournaments actually good for grassroots football, or have we reached a point where there are too many of them? We're joined this time by somebody with a bit of knowledge about them as well. I'd like to introduce Gaz. Hello, Gaz.
Hello.
Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, your background in football and how you're involved with our club?
Yeah, certainly. So obviously played a lot myself, but then my first boy born, Bradley, I joined Andy and Mark in coaching him from under sevens all the way up to under 18s. So they've just finished their last season now, which is very sad, but he'll now go on to play for the seniors, which is a good progression path. And also I coach my youngest boy, Robbie. He's 13, so was in the under 13s. And again, I've helped coach since probably under 8s or under 9s. And yeah, he'll be going into under 14s next season. He's a goalkeeper, so always interesting. My Sunday afternoons are now free, but only for one season, and then he'll play in the afternoons once he reaches under 15s in 2 seasons' time. Very much coaching, part of my background. I'm also head of the boys section at Fry's, which is a role I've had for a couple of years now. So Mark being head of girls, done a grand job with that, built a really good community. And so I've come into the boys section to try and do the same thing. So hopefully it's all going well at the moment. At least I haven't had too many complaints. So yeah, it's all good.
Okay, so let's start simple, both of you. What's your personal relationships with tournaments? Are you someone who loves them, someone who sort of quietly dreads the WhatsApp or email saying there's a new tournament? Because Mark, give Gaz a bit of a break. Mark, you first.
Yeah, I'm always mixed with tournaments. I do love them when they're younger. The older they go, they're still enjoyable and fun. It's weird. The only thing I have with tournaments is the older you get, you try to coach the girls or the boys a certain way of playing, 11-a-side tournaments, and then you sort of say, ignore that for the summer. We're playing 6-a-side, 7-a-side, 10-minute quick games, and almost skill-based and stuff goes against it. One thing I've learned from from you when we were doing it, the advantage, what I do like about tournaments, the main thing for me, I do love it when we go further afield and play teams you don't normally play on a weekly basis. As an example, this week, my daughter played in the Southampton women's tournament, and then with Fry's we played in the Axminster tournament. So over the weekend played a total of 12 teams, never played before. So got some new contacts and hopefully organising a friendly against Axminster in August. So to get new contacts, to get new experiences, new memories for the kids, tournaments and stuff are great. It's great fun. They enjoy it. It's a lovely community based. There are a lot of pluses. I'm sure we'll go on to later the financial aspects for clubs as well. So in that sense, I think they are very good. Potentially they're not great for what you're trying to coach them as footballers, but everything else, lots of fun.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. It's a mixed thing for me. as long as you go to a tournament and you have fun, I think that's the main thing. What I find is we're kind of, or both my teams have been sort of mid to lower in the divisions, and you turn up to some tournaments and you end up playing Division A teams, and you might get beat 3 or 4 or 5-0 in a 10-minute game. And there are a lot of teams that enter tournaments religiously to win, and they will all be at the same local tournaments. And you get there and you think, oh blimey, we got them again. But some tournaments are also more development, and they tend to invite sort of lower level teams, or they will seed the groups so that the tournament it's more fair and there's more competitive games. I think as a coach, I love them because it gives the kids again further opportunity to play, different format. It's all learning for them. They enjoy it. It's a day out. They get their ice creams. Even when they're not playing in their matches, they tend to go off and find a goal net and kick around for forever. So it's brilliant exercise for them. It's great enjoyment. It's really good at building teamwork. Even if you do come off not always on the right side of results, as long as you set expectations with the kids, and the reason is to enjoy it, then I think they could be really good. As long as you don't do too many, and give the parents a break as well. Because they've had a hard season as well, bless them. So probably I'd say 3 or 4 in the summer at most for me. And like Mark said, if you can go further afield, brilliant. You can drive an hour to say the North Bristol from where we are because of traffic and everything else. But if you drove an hour south down to Somerset and sort of almost Dorset way, you can play some teams that you've never played before. So we've done that a few times, and it's great to get, as you said, new contacts and set up friendlies pre-season as well. But yeah, I think generally they're positive. But yeah, I think as long as you don't overdo it, and kind of sometimes you get to know the tournaments that you might want to partake in, depending on the club that runs them and the way I guess they seriously they take it and stuff. But then as a Division A coach, I guess you want to be competitive and you want to play against the better team. So it's swings and roundabouts really.
Yeah, I've always loved tournaments. You look back at some of the previous teams that I was doing, certainly at the younger age group, 12, 13 tournaments in a summer, or Saturday, Sunday. If I could find them, I was doing them. My wife wasn't so keen on me doing this, but I was constantly out. Absolutely love them. Just enjoy it's a different experience, and I think that's what I enjoy about it. And part of it is going away, because when I was first started doing it, yeah, you don't know what you're doing, so you just find the local teams. But as soon as I got more experience, I would start going initially to Bath Arsenal, and then it was Corsham tournament regularly. Then I find the Froome tournament, then I find the Wells tournament, and it's got further and further afield. And luckily, most of the parents were up for it, and most of my summers were going further and further afield and finding more and more tournaments. And exactly as you guys said, you start finding people, starting friends, and before you know it, you're having pre-season friendlies regularly against teams coming an hour and a half to play you. And it is great, absolutely. Follow up, just a quick follow up for that. Ask both of you, what's your worst tournament experience you've had? A quick follow up.
Whether it's no, I suppose it is the worst one. I won't say the tournament or the person involved, but it is the only place where at a tournament where I have been invited by another coach to go into the car park and have a scrap. So that was quite an interesting.
Was that the tournament?
Interest, and so we
that
played...
the fault of the tournament, or was that the fault of the opposition?
Oh, that was definitely the fault of the opposition. I don't think the tournament then handled it particularly well after, and then how they were as the team were, because the team we played, we beat them. I don't think they were used to losing. And then we played them again in I think it was the semi-finals, and beat them in the semi-finals. and then they stayed for the final and were loudly cheering the opposition and booing everything that we did. So it made it an interesting one. For an actual tournament, I find the ones which I enjoyed and stuff, and I think we were almost one of the first ones to do it because we copied it from somebody, is where they offer, like Gaz was saying, you can have different levels of teams. So they would do the ones that do a cup and plate. So if you've got a group of 5 or 6, the top 2 will go into the cup competition, but then they would do a plate competition for 3rd and 4th. And in some ways, they might even do a Champions League, Europa League conference thing. So it was that every team, no matter in the group, you then have a chance to go and win. And then you are playing teams of an equal level. So you might struggle in the group stage, but actually then go and win the 3rd place final or the 2nd place final. So you are going to have some more competitive games. Those are more enjoyable. I think if you have ones where it's 5 or 6 in a group, top one will go through, and you can almost know after the 1st or 2nd game that we'll be going home, and it's can be a slog if it's certainly wet and not enjoyable, and those ones can be hard work as well.
How old were your kids then, Mark?
But when we had the fight, we were under 11s. It was a ridiculous. We were playing a game, and he said that one of our players was being too rough, and I said, "Look, the ref is reffing it. He's given one foul, blah blah blah." And then, I mean, it was girls' football. She then did a foul, and it was a foul, and went down, and we had a conversation, carried on, and I said, "Look, he's just let the ref it. He was giving it all this." And then he said, "Right, that's it. I'm going to go out. We can go out and pause go into the car park." And I said, "Look, this is ridiculous." And gave a smile. And as soon as I gave the smile to him and said, "That's enough," she then did another foul, and the girl went down. And he said, "He's even laughing at them, crying at girls too being down and crying." So it was pure coincidence. That then got the dad involved. He said, "Right, come on, then let's go into the car park." It was ridiculous for under 11-year-old girls. And it went on for about 5 minutes, and I had to walk away in the end. So then the committee person came over and told us both off. And I said, "I didn't do anything. He's the one that was threatening to beat me up in the car park." But hey ho, it was a lesson learned. That was one further afield as well, so it won't go back there again.
I witnessed a similar issue, and again, I won't say who hosted or all the teams involved because it's not really fair. But we weren't actually playing in a match, but we saw, I think one of the and this was probably under 12s, I think, or maybe even under 11 boys. The 2 children had a coming together, and I think one of them went to punch the other one, and then a dad ran on the pitch, confronting the kid that threw the punch, and then the coaches ran on the pitch, and then everyone ran on the pitch, and it was just, oh my goodness. Anyway, all quietened down. The 2 coaches for this particular team were drinking pints of Stella on the sideline. And they gradually, throughout the competition, became more loud, more vocal, swearing in front of the kids. Their parents were starting to do the same thing. And then we ended up playing them in the I think it's the quarterfinal. And someone from the committee came to watch the game because they were cautious of these 2 coaches that were lively, let's just say. And we played the team. We ended up beating them on penalties, but the coach that was the way he wasn't even watching the game. He was just shouting at the club secretary who was on the committee that came over to make sure the games went all smoothly. And then after being knocked out again, like you said, they stayed around and just sort of stalked the other teams and the officials, and it was it's ridiculous. So that's probably the worst thing I've seen at a tournament. And to be honest, that hardly ever happens. It's just a one-off. But yeah, that kind of ruined it, and that's not the organisers' fault. It's just a couple of individuals and some of the parents that just ruined it really for everyone else. So yeah, I mean that was probably the worst tournament. I think mostly positives really. I was at one tournament where unfortunately the ground was too hard, so there was cracks and they had to and they could only use a couple of pitches, and it was Father's Day, and people wanted to leave, and I had parents saying, "Oh, we got to go, so we got a meal booked," and we hadn't even finished the group stages. And then when it got to the group stage, it took an hour and a half to figure out, because they didn't have it on a nap. It was kind of on a chalkboard, who would play who. And we ended up with, I think, the bare six or whatever it was, six aside. Fortunately, we got knocked out that round. And some of the parents managed to go and do what they wanted to do for Father's Day. But yeah, so I think obviously you can't always judge who you invite. Some tournaments will invite teams, people they know that will behave and are just generally nice. But unfortunately, in grassroots football, you do get some teams, usually led by coaches, that are just a little bit over the top, can be a little bit nasty sometimes. And if you open it out to everyone, sometimes those teams enter, and it can be difficult to manage those situations.
Unlike you, so I'm happy to name. I'll name names. I think my worst two, I'm going to name two. One was going back to my very first team. So we're talking close to 30 years ago. So it would have changed. It was Nelsey tournament. And it was just purely maybe bad luck or bad organisation. But by the time we got there, they were already 2 hours behind. And it must have been about 28 degrees. And so we were just, as a tour experience, it was not good. We just stood around and stood around and stood around. And that's a really, really bad way to have an afternoon. Just stood around bored, waiting and waiting and waiting for your games. My other bad experience, really bad. My previous team, we went on tour to Holland, not you guys, the one before that. And we had to win our last game by 2 goals more than the other team in our group to go through to the final. And we're doing really well, scoring goals, and we look over, and on the other pitch, they're winning by more goals than that, because the opposition are quite literally lying down on the pitch to let them run past, because we found out afterwards they felt we'd been too aggressive when we played them. They admitted it afterwards. And so we went out, we didn't get through to the final, and we were not very happy at all about that. But that's like one of my two worst experiences. But there you go. And that was a rather expensive tour.
Going back to what Gaz mentioned, and I do think sometimes, again, I won't name the tournament, but there is certainly one tournament in Bristol where they have a beer tent, and it's amazing the amount of adults who think if there's a lot of alcohol being sold, certainly on a hot day, who think it's acceptable to get drunk at a children's football tournament.
You are supposed to stay within that area and drink within the confines of the
you
event.
do, but on a hot day, and they've had 4 or 5, and then they go and watch their son or daughter play
it's
football.
Funny how I knew which one you meant, isn't it?
Yeah, that would yeah. So that one I avoid now, just for that reason. I appreciate for tournaments it is a money maker. It's also not necessarily that tournament's fault. You're hoping adults will behave as adults, and again, it's the minority ruining it for the majority. But again, I've been at that tournament and I've heard people shouting, and I'm a good 200 to 300 meters away from them, where they've had one too much to drink.
Yeah.
So that is something I think tournament organisers do have to take that into account. That yes, you can make money from selling food, drinks, alcoholic beverages as well, but fundamentally it is a children's tournament full of young impressionable children, so that can sometimes affect what I look at as a good or bad tournament as well.
So move on. So why do tournaments exist? So obviously tournaments have become a huge part of grassroots football and the culture, especially in the off season. I mean, they're often seen as celebration events or fundraising opportunities and chance to play new teams. They can build confidence, they can bring communities together, and they can give players exposure to different playing styles. But why do we actually run tournaments in youth football? What do they offer that leagues don't? Oh,
I mean, fundamentally, a lot of clubs might not be able to survive without their tournament. They can be if they're run well, organised. It can be a way of making money that could be enough for some clubs to survive. Um, that's, I think, the fundamental reason why tournaments are there. Again, one I will mention is Warmley. That is a very run well tournament, and they've done it successfully for a few years. And I know as a club they get between £8,000 to £10,000 a year in their
we've spoken about
tournament.
this before, haven't we?
And for that, as a club, that gives them opportunities to invest and develop as a club. With our tournament, we have certain financial restraints with it, and we're not at that level of money that we're making, but we do make our profit. But for a lot of the clubs, it is almost their way of making money and also getting you out there, giving you some sort of promotion and everything as well, as a theatre club that goes over and beyond what other clubs do as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's a chance to make money, isn't it? And also build the community within inside your club, because everyone, you have to have so many volunteers, from parking to manning stalls to referees, getting referees in, and all sorts of different roles, putting up tents and gazebos, and so you have to have that community. It helps build the community. It's great for the club's community and the outreach to, if you can advertise it and kids coming down, then that they'll see that and they'll want to play for Fry's or for Warmley or whoever. It's a real attraction. If you have a tournament, it's a real attraction for players and sponsors as well. Because that again, financially through sponsors, if you're quite a successful tournament, you might get a company offering to buy all your kits or something like that. So yeah, I think those two things are the main things, really.
I mean, those are the reasons to do it, but there are also positives to it as well. I mean, one of the things that it helps develop, I think, teamwork and also resilience. If you've got to play sort of several matches over a day and players have to work together, support each other, they've got to recover from setbacks. They've got to learn how to bounce back after a defeat, or they've got to maintain concentration, over a number of games over a number of sort of day. It will build up that sort of that mentality, which is something you won't get if you're just playing a game once a week. So that can help that as well, I believe. That's something you don't get during a regular season.
No, I mentioned it before, didn't I? It's like the team building, the real team ethic, and being together for the day. It's something else. It's not just all about the football. It's about bonding and.
But they get very unique pressure-filled situations at tournaments that tend not to happen. And I know they get cup runs, but tournaments can be a slightly different sort of thing, can't they?
Yeah, and they're more competitive, aren't they? Which I know every game of football is competitive, but under 11s and below, they don't have league tables. They do have their seasonal cup competitions. So it's another opportunity, I guess, to experience that kind of competitive environment. And like you say, you learn some really good lessons from that, whether you win or lose.
And that's what I want to come on to. Obviously, tournaments can be good for young players. You bring different teams in, and you give it different experiences and different atmospheres. But do you think tournaments are where players really start to learn to deal with pressure? Especially now, like I said, the ages have moved on to where you have the results published and everything else. This is that point now, then, it goes.
Possibly, I think generally, as children grow older, I think the more pressure comes with each year, doesn't it? So when they start going to secondary school, for me, is when they start playing against their mates who are in local teams, and you get that bit of banter going around, and that becomes more serious, and they want to win more. Tournaments for me has always been more about the fun. Never really the expectation of winning, but if you do get far, then it's kind of an added bonus. Really, I think. So what do you think, Mark?
It's interesting and good. I mean, I can go for an example that we had over the weekend. So at the Southampton women's tournament, we were in the semi-final and it went to a penalty shootout. Bizarrely, there was 5 penalties each down there for some weird reason. We won on penalties. The team that we played, all their girls were in tears when they missed. So as individual pressure, they did find that it was harsh. And then we won the final. Our girls were fine, but again, all opposition girls were in tears that they'd lost. And then on the Sunday, we missed out of going to the final because they did it the way they did it on goal difference by 1. So again, our girls they were a bit upset on that. But again, it's a way of them, like you said, it's learning how we go back. And it's experience of learning, winning, losing, how you react, which grassroots football is all about, is how do you react to a defeat? How do you react to a mistake? It's more, I think, intensified than in the league because it's weekly.
This is the point, because with a league, when you lose, you've got a week to recover. But when it's at a tournament, sometimes you've got 15 minutes. And so psychologically, you've got to get yourself picked up very, very quickly. And that's where it shows that resilience, or some people a lack of resilience.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think Gaz is right, but the main thing for tournaments is fun. And again, I think a lot of it is on how coaches and parents react. If you make it that no matter what you say to the at the moment for me it's girls, but when Brad and Corey played in their tournaments for you and playing with Gaz, I think we won one tournament or got to one final, and they had a great time in that. And that was 3, was it? Well, there you go, 3. Better than I. So the expectations for them was always different, and the parents were always good. It's nothing to do with me, but the girls' team, they are a successful bunch, and the parents potentially within that team think they're going to win every tournament that we go to, which is, as an example, this year we have gone to tournaments where we know we probably won't win because we are. It's to challenge them. You can't have them winning all the time because, again, that doesn't do them any good either as individuals. But then I've had to tell one parent off this weekend where he had put too much pressure on his child. And I said, you cannot do that. They are 12-year-old girls. They will make mistakes. We will not win. And if you have a go at them, that will intensify. So it's a good way for parents as well to learn. Grassroots football is more about fun, development, and enjoyment. Winning is, like I said, is the bonus. And even with tournaments, that should always be the case. If you get to win, it's almost a bonus. And there can only ever be one winner at a tournament.
Interesting you said about the penalty shootout. A lot of players won't ever play in a penalty shootout unless they've entered a tournament, and it's it does have that learning, especially the poor lads or the poor girls that miss. But also at the same time, it can be complete elevation if you put one in the net and it sends them through. So I mean, one of my favourite moments in a tournament was my lad Robbie, who in a penalty shootout he was obviously a goalkeeper So he saved the a penalty, and then it was our penalty to win it, and it was him to take it. So he stepped up and scored the penalty as well, and he was a hero and stuff. And it was a real good moment for him. But that could have easily gone the other way, and does most of the time when you're a goalkeeper. You're not necessarily the hero. But yeah, it's definitely it's good learning experience, because as soon as someone misses, you go up, console them, and it's all right, it's fine. You're young.
I mean, you say it's more about fun, but yeah, I see that when they're 7, 8, and 9. But you ask these kids who are 12 and 13, we're going to a tournament, do you want to have fun or do you want to win? And almost all of them say they're there to win, But okay, moving on. But in tournaments, we like it when it's sunny and medals and everything. But there are issues. There's costs for everybody. A lot of matches in a short time. There's pressure on people, players. There's also fatigue and burnout. So, what do you think are the biggest problems with tournaments?
Again, you can have coaches and stuff that go out and win and being fair. So again, what we've tried to do. So last week we took 8 to Axminster. We're at the Bristol Rovers tournament this week, and it's a totally different 8. So these are girls that are more happy not to travel and stuff like that. So you've got to make it fair for all the girls and boys in your team, because that can cause resentment. I've seen that where within teams you take the same 8 or 9, because coaches are going to take the best 8 or 9 to win the tournaments, and you've got a squad of 16, so you can cause resentment in tournaments. The lots of again, with tournaments, it's getting that balance right as well. Do you want to go to a tournament where you have 5 games in an hour and a half and it's done? It's pretty quick, like you said, in heat, but you're not there long. Or like when you were saying earlier, for a tournament that you're there for 6 hours, you only play 4 games, and you're sat out either in the heat, the rain, if it is chucking it down. We've been lucky the last couple of years for summers, but I've certainly been to a tournament where it's chucked it down all day, and you're there for 4 hours and you've played 20 minutes of football. Do you think, well, that was no fun at all? The cost of them, again, it depends on each team and how you want to do it. Per player, you're only looking at £3 or £4. Well, for an afternoon or morning's entertainment for a child, I still think that's pretty good value. But getting the balance right of how many tournaments you do. If you go out and do a tournament every weekend, there's no rest, there is no burnout. The child doesn't get to enjoy it. It's just standard. It's not, you can lose it fun. You've got to get the balance right of how many you do. I think you want to do, if you're going to do them, probably, like I said, 3 to 6 is probably what I would think is the most for a child. As a team, you might end up doing 6 to 10, but just to get the variation. And if you can get a variation of who you're taking, you can get different groups mixing together. Because if you have the same girls or boys, that can get clicky as well. So again, it's about managing it. It's like the joys of everything with being a grassroots manager, which you do for free. You're also sort of a social worker and developer for them as well. So that's my opinion. But obviously, some managers do look at that differently.
Yeah, I think you've covered most of it there, mate. The key point for me is the organisation and making sure that you, like you say, have the right balance. So you're not too long without playing, but also not too short. You want to make a bit of a morning of it or an afternoon of it. But like you said, I've been to one where we were there the whole day and we played once every hour and a half, sort of 12-minute match, and it was ridiculous. So yeah, it has to be well organised, and well informed as well. The standard set and everything. Yeah. What's the question? Was it what?
It's
what
what's the biggest
doesn't go
problem
well
with tournaments?
Problem.
Big problem, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, you sometimes get your 18 that go to a tournament every week just purely to win and get trophies, which is fine. But it's hard when you're a kind of lower team, and no matter what tournament you go to, there they are again. But yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things is going to be cost. I mean, I know I've been doing it now over 30 years, but I remember when we started, I was entering tournaments. This is what I used to do loads. So I was entering tournaments for £10 to £15 a team, and entry was £1. Now I'm seeing adverts for £40, £50, £60 to enter a tournament, and £5 entry fee is nothing when we get there. So so the cost on people to go to tournaments is way, way higher than it used to be, and standard of living and the cost of living hasn't gone up that much in comparison, and it's gone up, but not by comparison. I think that's the biggest issue. I think for certainly for parents, there's obviously player fatigue, but that depends on the number of matches. You can come to some matches and get 4 matches in 2 hours, and it's nicely balanced out. It depends on the tournament. The other thing Paul might think about the start of tournaments is sideline pressure from parents, and coaches more focused on the winning aspect at a younger age, not so much the older age, because you're in leagues where you're doing that anyway. But the younger ages where we are playing non-competitive, they get the summer of suddenly they're having to win. The under 9 to under 11 sort of age groups, those age groups there, where they're not used to having results published, and suddenly it's win, 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 and they're what? I think that can cause a bit of an issue there. But, I think for me, cost is probably the big one and the big change. But as you said earlier, teams need money to survive. So it's that balance, isn't it? But where do you draw the line? I think you draw the line when when the market's oversaturated and there's 50 tournaments to choose from, and people say I can't do all of them. But moving on to cost, fun enough, tournaments is the major fundraiser for clubs. But are tournaments about football, or are they about funding grassroots clubs?
I mean, realistically, because again, the majority of people who run tournaments and organise tournaments are volunteers, and who run clubs. So it is to keep the clubs teams going. Realistically, we're in the middle of doing the 4th one now, 3rd or 4th one, for Fry's this year. And the first one we've included the boys and have we done 2 or 3 girls? I can't remember.
3 girls.
3 girls. So this will be the 4th one. And honestly, it's the thing that probably takes up the most time outside the regular season, and for what we make the least amount of money on. And that's why this year we've had to put the costs up. I think last year, the way we do it was brilliant. We get the sponsors in and we get stuff. If we didn't have the sponsors in, I think we worked it out. It was roughly each team made a profit of £80. By the amount of hours and stuff that is put in by a few people, I think I'd have been better off just saying here's £80 to my team and we won't bother. So again, it is the few that do it for the majority of the club. So I think each club probably runs their tournament for finances until it goes horribly wrong, and again for reputation, because I think most clubs that do a tournament, if you do a tournament well, you do get a good reputation. The children as well within your club, they all like to say that they can enter the home tournament, which can cause itself its issues because the main reason, if you're going to do it for money raising, you probably want more teams outside of your club to enter, so you can raise more money because you get the entry fee rather than your own team's doing it. So again, it's that horrible balancing act of why clubs do. I suppose Gaz is going to be a good person because it's the first one that he's been involved in this year. So he's all fresh and new to it with the boys section and what he thinks the benefits for the boys will have this year.
Yeah, I mentioned it before, didn't I, Mark, that you've had the girls section for a few years and you've done the tournaments. So for me, it's purely building that community within the club, especially the boys section, because we have around 14, 15 boys teams, but there's never been that community there. Not many of the coaches know each other. There's very little interaction, so we've done things like the fun days, the Christmas parties, and lots of other things, presentation. But the tournament's that extra one, I think, that will help bring that together even more, as especially to integrate with the girls section as well, because we'll be playing girls teams and boys teams at the same time. So we looked at doing, okay, do we have a girls weekend and a boys weekend? But we thought, no, let's get everyone together. So all the volunteers will be helping together. It just builds that, you get to know more people, you make more friends, the parents make more friends, the kids make more friends. So for me, this tournament we're doing is all about building that community within the club, and obviously, I guess the prestige of the club as well is that we're Fry's, we can hold a successful tournament, because we always used to, going back. So yeah, finances, I'll be happy if we break even, as long as it's our first time really for the boys as well. Obviously you've done it for a couple of years, as long as it doesn't become a detriment to the club, I think even if you just break even. But you're right in saying, again, it's there's a few people that will have to put in the hours and hours as volunteers that makes it happen. So as long as you got those people in the club that are willing to do that, then yeah, it's brilliant.
Okay. Moving on. But in some areas, I think Bristol's one of them, you can find a tournament, sometimes 2 or 3, every single weekend in the summer, which raises a big question. Are tournaments becoming oversaturated? What do you think? Or have we reached the point where there are simply too many tournaments? Mark?
In short, there are. But again, I think there are now more and more tournaments, and it's the catch-22, I think, than you had, say, 10 years ago. Or it seems there are more tournaments because of the success of the girls and the female game, which has caused a lot of tournaments do, like Gaza said, some will do boys only, girls only, mixed tournaments. So, I mean, if you take Fry's as an example, over the last 6-7 years, it's almost doubled in size. And I think a lot of clubs have gone down that route. So where the success of the female game is fantastic, it does cause then it seems like there are tournaments and multiple tournaments every weekend that you can go to. So whether that's the catch-22, is that a good or bad thing? So you want to be equal to everybody. How you manage that is interesting. And again, a lot of clubs see the successful clubs have tournaments. So if you've not got a tournament, and it'll only take a couple of people within your club to think, well, we want to be successful, we want to build our club, a good way to do it is a tournament. And they would join in. So I don't think you can begrudge teams and clubs for doing tournaments. But yeah, there is an awful lot out there. And I think what I've noticed this year, with a lot of tournaments have struggled to fill the spaces up, because there are too many choices. I think the first weekend that we're on, Bristol Rovers have got a tournament there. They've expanded to 2 weeks over with their girls, and they're on the same time as us. So again, within the Bristol area, it's split in half just on that weekend. And when we originally did it, we set up the tournament that there was no other tournaments on that weekend. It is difficult because there's a lot of clubs out there doing it. So yes, there's too many, but I understand why, and I don't. It'd be difficult how to stop that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's good for you can pretty much pick your tournament now, can't you? Whichever week, whichever week you want to take a team, the options are there. Saying that, some tournaments fill out really quickly, and they tend to be the more successful ones that have done it year after year, and then some might struggle to get teams. So yeah, there probably is too many, especially in the Bristol area. Which again, this is why sometimes we go a bit further afield, because you do end up playing the same teams week in, week out if you're going to go to lots of them.
I know you say you were saturated, but I can remember maybe 10 years ago gathering all the tournament info I could to see where I could go. And even back then, I was finding on average 3 to 4 tournaments every single weekend throughout, I think, mid-May to mid-July. That was about then. That wasn't looking at the girls' side. That was just went way through. So I'm sure there's more now than there was then. Just getting, okay, moving on. One of the biggest debates is player welfare. Some tournaments mean 4 to 6 or even 8 matches in a day. Very little recovery, playing in hot weather, or sometimes in the summer, rain hammering down. Are tournaments pushing young and sometimes very young players far too much physically? What do you think? Mark, first as always.
I don't necessarily blame the tournaments in some ways. I think, again, it's managers. They normally say you can bring 2 or 3 subs. I've known, and again, they want to get the balance right of like we've discussed. You don't want to go to a tournament 2 hours away, play 4 games for 40 minutes. You've bought 3 subs, and some children have only played 20 minutes. I think there is the FA guidelines. The way I always try to look at it is that you almost want every child to play ideally around an hour of football. I think if they're going to spend all morning there, I personally think an hour is about right. You don't want to go too much over. I think the FA don't approve of that as well. But you've got to get like you said with the cost, it's getting the value for money. If you're taking, I don't know, if it's a 7-a-side tournament, you allowed 3 subs, 10 children there, and you only had 4 games of say 10 minutes in length. I think your parents would be moaning that they've travelled 2 hours to play 20 minutes of football. So welfare has got to come into it to a degree, but again, I think that is more down to again the teams and the coaches and managers that go there. If you're going to a tournament 6-a-side and you only take 6 players because you want to go out, and the only reason you generally do that is because you want to win, and you've got 8 games of 12 minutes, well, that's probably more down to the coach who wants to go out and win it, and they've only had the 6 children for the 8 games. I don't necessarily think that's the tournament's fault. I think most tournaments, again, are clever. I think most tournaments we've been to, you generally get 5 or 6 games that last around an hour, so they know that's within the guidelines. But again, I think common sense has got to come into it, which is something which can be lacking within grassroots football coaches at times. But I don't necessarily think that's the tournament's fault, personally.
Yeah, so as far as players' welfare is concerned, I think that's the responsibility of the parents and the coaches, really. The tournaments are there to be used and to have fun and to go to. If you're taking your teams to a tournament every week throughout the whole summer, then it's probably too much. And like you say, if you're a coach and you're taking 7 players to a 6-a-side game or 8 players, but you're not rotating as much as you should be, then again that's down to the coach. And when the weather's 28 degrees, and we've all been at tournaments where it's been really hot. If you need to give kids a break. So yeah, I'd say that's purely down to the coaches, really. Pick what you feel is the right amount of tournaments to go to. Rotate, so make sure you use all your players. And yeah, when you're there on the day, ideally you want the format to be right for what you think your team should be.
There's a big difference between large local tournaments and large tournaments, the travel ones. The big tournaments, and by that I mean sort of foreign ones, bigger atmosphere, higher competition levels, travel, possibly hotels. Are the big destination tournaments worth it, Mark?
Personally, I think yes. I think they're brilliant. The main reason for tournaments, for grassroots football, for what we do, which is why I think at Fry's we are a success, is it's all about memories for children. Most of them, if you ask most of the kids last year, oh, when we played so and so, what was the score? They will not remember. Will they remember that they went to, I don't know, Butlins on one of their big tours, or Holland in 20 years' time? That is what they will remember. Will they remember going on? I know when, like, Brad and Corey went on the whole, did it a couple of years ago, and Imi did Butlins this year. They will not remember any of the results. They will remember playing with their friends. They will remember doing the trip, going on the coach, being in the club at the night time, and that experience. And oh yeah, and amongst it all, we played a football tournament. That's the highlight of those tournaments for me, is all about memories. You're not necessarily going to go and win, or even, and it is lovely to play new teams. The main experience for them is the memories for 10, 15, 20 years' time. For the coaches, the parents, but more importantly, the players.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. I think the big tournaments are good, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do one every season. We've been on tour with our under-13s, and we'll go to somewhere like Devon Cliffs, where the kids have got the beach. They've got the big sports fields, and we'll organise like little parents versus kids rounders and stuff like that. And I think that can be just as valuable as going away to a massively organised tournament. But it is good to do them maybe once every other year, or certainly the one we did in Holland was kind of what under-16s, one of their last years of playing football together, and that was an amazing experience for me, let alone the kids. Staying at Centre Parks, getting on the coach at 1:30 in the morning. They're all sat at the back. All the adults are at the front. They're all having a giggle at the back, and then using the same coach to go to your matches. And like, the matches were secondary things, really. It was a good competition. We beat one team about 8-0, but then lost about 4-0 to another. So there's a wide variety of teams there, but it was all about, like you say, making memories and playing manhunt around Centre Parks in the evening, and going swimming and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely recommend one of the bigger tournaments. But there's also other ways that you can have those memories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last team, I think we did, it was Torquay we went to, and then we've done Holland, and my previous team to Holland as well. And I think they're absolutely fantastic things to do. I'd highly recommend any team, if you can, do one. If you can, it's only one, do one big tournament, go abroad and do it. It's fantastic. It's a massive experience, and just remember it. Okay. If tournaments stopped tomorrow, would grassroots football lose something important, or would it actually improve youth development?
It would lose something. I think And again, it's one of these wonderful things with football as well, which you got to look for potentially with with weather and everything like that in the winter. It potentially gives that community feel. There's more games. It's more experience. It's a lovely way of introducing new players to the club. So for me, if they said, "Look, that's it, tournaments are banned," it would take something away. Whether I'm a big fan of them all the time is up for debate, but I think for grassroots football, they're an essential part of it. Really, now this is the bread and butter of a lot of clubs, so it's good for more than it is bad.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's part of the excitement of the summer, isn't it? If you have to go a whole summer without any football as a child, that can be quite a long wait until, you might do a bit of training, but actually competitively play. Tournaments give you that, and it keeps you ticking over, and it's exciting. It's a chance for them to get together again and keep that team building experience going. It's also a chance for teams to win something, because a lot of teams won't get a chance to win leagues or cups or whatever. And if you enter a tournament, anything can happen. There's only 5-10 minute games. A lot of the matches end up 0-0. So it gives chance to people to do really well and get some excitement out of it in that respect as well. So and then of course the clubs need them. A lot of the clubs need them to survive. So I think just getting rid of them would be a big issue for grassroots football.
Yeah, I think financially alone it would impact so many. So on that aspect alone, I agree with you both. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and look out for the next one. We will see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Cheers.
You've been listening to a We Haven't Got a Clue What We're Doing production, produced and edited by Andy Glover.